To read it. It's 4:30 on WKYT this morning. Friends of a man who police found dead in the back of a burned out car held a vigil to remember him. How they honored Trevor Dilger. That's ahead this morning.
Plus, Kentuckians paid their respects to those who lost their lives on 9/11. We'll hear from UK students who used flags to honor each victim.
And an iconic 9/11 flag that disappeared shortly after the terror attacks has a surprising Kentucky connection. That story in your weather forecast for this brand new week on WKYT This Morning.
This is WKYT This Morning.
Good morning to you and welcome. It's your Monday. We hope you had a nice weekend. I'm Bill Bryant.
And I'm Andrea Walker. We sure had a nice weather weekend.
Oh, wasn't it great?
To say the least.
Hard to complain.
It was beautiful.
And beautiful this morning, you know, just a hint of a chill in the air when you step outside, sort of refreshing conditions. Meteorologist Micah Harris is back with us. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, it's a bit chilly outside. I mean, you walk outside, there's a bit of a chill in the air, but like Bill was talking about, once we get into the afternoon, it actually feel quite nice. Temperatures right now in the 50s, a couple of 60s mixed in here and there. The roadways look pretty good. Pretty calm and quiet early this morning. I don't see any problems whatsoever. And we travel through your day, and there you go. 83 by the afternoon. Just a great day in store. But I will tell you this. Temperatures are slowly rising each and every single day. And then a little bit moisture comes on in. And you know exactly what that means. Maybe a little rain in toward later in our forecast. And I'll show you that 7-day in just about 10 minutes.
We'll see you then, and let's get right to the news. A week after police found his body in the back of a burned car, friends of Trevor Dilger are honoring him. Dozens attended a vigil for Dilger in Lexington.
Police found the 24-year-old's body off a road just off Old Frankfort Pike last Sunday night. WKYT's Caitlin Sentner talked to a few of those who knew him best.
It's typically a nice place for a walk in the park. It was anything but that Sunday night for a group of friends.
I mean, he's my brother. He'll always be my brother.
Just this weekend, they heard what they didn't want to be true, that a burning car found 1 week ago had their friend Trevor Dilger inside.
Everybody just felt there was a sense of hope that it wasn't going to be him, that he was just going to, comment on something on Facebook like, y'all are crazy. I'm here. This is who he was.
Sunday, friends lit candles and stood together to remember their buddy. It was an emotional night, but they couldn't help but crack a smile talking about the guy they knew as Dilly.
Since middle school, I've known we were always good buddies, and then I joined the military about 4 years before he did, and then he kept talking to me about it and asked me about it, and I finally convinced him to do it. And he loved it when he was in. He absolutely loved the military.
The idea for tonight's vigil started out on a Facebook post. It got a ton of shares, and friends tell us they're so excited to see this many people come out to support their friends.
Everybody here, played an influence in Trevor's life, whether it was outside of school or, in school.
This to me is everything. This is what I think that we need more of. People coming together and speaking to one another and just being there for one another.
Friends say there's not much they can do going forward. They're just holding on to the good times.
I love you, Billy, and I'll see him another time one day.
In Lexington, Caitlin Sentner, WKYT.
The coroner still hasn't released Dilger's cause of death. So far, police have not made any arrests in the case. Georgetown police are investigating a chase that ended with a crash. Police say a man fired 4 to 5 shots near the Colony subdivision. When they pulled up, they say the man took off and hit 2 cars. Officers lost him at the intersection of US 25 and Cherry Blossom Way. He later crashed on Delaplane and Anderson Road. We're told the car did catch on fire.
Kentucky State Police are investigating a robbery at a Madison County gas station. Troopers say an armed man walked into the BP on Simpson Lane late last night. They say the man demanded the clerk open up the cash register. He did get away with some money, and state police released this surveillance video, or at least the photo, this morning. Troopers say he was wearing a bandana over his face and had a blue long-sleeved shirt on, as well as khaki pants and a hat that was labeled American Sniper. Investigators in Western Kentucky are looking for a second inmate who walked away from work release. The Barron County jailer says Amber Franks walked away from her work release crew last Tuesday. And on Friday, state police say Darrell Taylor walked away from work detail in Bowling Green. The Warren County jailer says walk-offs are rare. Other inmates on work release there say walking away is a bad idea.
Really don't want to have to look over your shoulder every day, you know what I mean? So for me, it wouldn't be something I'd want to do. I'm ready to get back out into society and be able to take care of my kids and not have to worry about coming back.
Now, police in South Carolina found Franks and her boyfriend last week. Taylor is still on the run. He was last seen at Basil Griffin Park in Bowling Green on Friday.
A 9/11 tribute lit up New York for the 15th anniversary of the attacks. The tribute of lights consists of 88 beams forming the shape of the Twin Towers. Thousands attended a memorial service at Ground Zero where family members of the victims read each name aloud. There was also a memorial service at Flight 93 National Memorial in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and at the Pentagon. President Obama addressed the crowd there, urging Americans to come together.
E pluribus unum. Out of many, we are one. For we know that our diversity, our patchwork heritage is not a weakness. It is still and always will be one of our greatest strengths.
Kentuckians paid their respects to those who lost their lives on 9/11 as well. ROTC students at the University of Kentucky placed 2,977 flags on campus for each person killed in the terrorist attacks. Sabir Rayford talked to students about their service.
Walker, Arthur, McNeil.
They're giving a voice to the voiceless.
Sean, Peltzer, McNulty.
We have 2,977 flags out here.
A flag for each American life lost in 9/11.
We really try to honor all the victims of these terrible attacks as best as we can.
For the students in UK's ROTC program, securing the flags was an overnight mission.
Most of us stayed overnight in the armory, slept here supervising, making sure all the flags were staying up. So we take a really great pride into this day.
But for two people observing today's ceremony, every flag planted in the ground and every name read off that list summoned a question of why.
As they were reading the names, my children were listening, and they announced a couple different women, and they would say the woman's name and then her unborn child. And my son said, "Mommy, why would somebody be so mean to kill somebody who was pregnant?" And
it wasn't an easy question to answer, but Teresa Smith says it was important to her to help them understand.
We talked about that some bad guys wanted to hurt people and flew planes into a building, and a lot of people died. And so today we remember all of those people that died.
There was never a large crowd at the ceremony, but it didn't seem to matter because this group of UK students gave a lesson to one family that they say they will never forget.
We learn from history, and so, you know, even though they weren't alive when this tragedy happened, they can learn, and even though they're young, we can in certain ways help them learn about that.
At the University of Kentucky, Sabir Rayford, WKYT.
ROTC students at Eastern Kentucky University also held a memorial service. Dozens listened to community leaders who talked about the importance of remembering and of serving. And University President Michael Benson addressed the crowd.
There are those days, whether it's the 4th of July or Veterans Day, a day like today, that give us a moment as a country to pause and reflect and to thank. And I think a service like today is so very important for our community and for our campus.
Corey Wheat, a junior at EKU and a member of the ROTC program, organized the event.
An iconic 9/11 flag that disappeared shortly after the terror attacks has a surprising Kentucky connection. The flag came from a yacht docked near the World Trade Center. Lexington developer Dudley Webb once owned that yacht. It was part of a 7-boat dinner cruise chain. He says he bought the flag at a marina in Jamestown. The flag eventually showed up in Washington in 2014. It now sits inside the National September 11th Museum. You can track the flag's journey by clicking on this story on WKYT.com.
WKYT This Morning is just getting started on your Monday. We're glad you're with us today as we get this brand new day off and rolling.
Still to come, doctors are urging schools to make start times later. We'll tell you why when we come back on WKYT This Morning.
We have 50s and 60s outside this morning. Really nice weather ahead the next few days. I don't see much activity whatsoever until we hit late in the work week or even up into the weekend. I'll show you that forecast coming up.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with meteorologist Micah Harris.
It is 56 right now in the capital city of Frankfort. We're at 55 across the region down south. 53 if you head down towards, say, Danville and make your way down toward Pulaski County. Lexington coming in the lower 60s. That goes for Moorhead as well. But all in all, this is a really, really nice start to the day. I will say this, it's a little chilly outside as you walk out the door. We're at 78 there by noontime. This is a perfect day. Well, I would say yesterday was a perfect day. Today is a little bit warmer. We're there around 83. We finish off in the upper 70s to around 80 degrees yesterday. And we'll finish off a low to mid 80s again today. Now, we get off towards your next few days, and they're slowly rising each and every single day. But at least we're staying dry throughout your afternoon off into the evening hours. I see no problems whatsoever as that sunset gets earlier and earlier each and every single day. We are now at 7:50 for sunset. Let's go through the breakdown of today's talkers. We're at fall-like weather still today. And then we'll start to see those temperatures and that humidity slowly on the increase. And just like last week, I mean, this is the same exact setup as last week. As Sunday was really nice, Monday still pretty nice, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, we start to see those temperatures rise each and every single day. And then once that humidity really kicks in, then that gives us the chance of rain. But it's not a great chance. We're sitting at mid to late week chances. I would say during midweek, you're talking 20, 30%. But once you get off into your weekend, you're talking more 40 to 60%. As of right now, we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, that's still a ways away. We can jot down those details as we move along. So for the most part, this whole week is mostly dry. Not fully dry, but mostly dry. Wednesday and Thursday, I'd say, is our next best chance at actually seeing a pop-up shower or thunderstorm. Still those days staying dry, mainly dry that is. And then Friday, just a small chance of rain on Friday. I don't see much of an issue there for Friday night football as of right now. Heading off towards your Saturday and Sunday, that's when the better rain chances slide on in here. As of right now, I'm going to leave it at 40%. I rarely go higher than 40% there, 5 to 6 days out. And it looks like we're going to be seeing a lot of those details really come on in the next few days. But all in all, this is a really, really nice forecast in store as we're holding on to low to mid 80s. It does get back toward average. It does get a little warm as we get toward midweek, but it's not extremely warm. We're getting better, guys. We're getting closer to fall, and we're starting to see it and feel it as well in the air.
I know, we're getting little tastes of it.
That's right. Little shots here and there.
All right, there's that. Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, Micah. Well, we all need to try to get our 8 hours of sleep in each night, and teenagers definitely need their sleep.
And it is so important that doctors are recommending a later school start.
Here's why in today's Mom's Everyday Minute.
Doctors are making the case for a later start time for schools across the country to help ease sleep deprivation among teenagers and the problems associated with it. The American Medical Association recommends that middle and high school classes should start no earlier than 8:30 a.m. The AMA says that sleep deprivation is a growing public health issue for teenagers, putting them at risk for mental, physical, and emotional distress and disorders. But when teens get enough sleep, there is improvement in health, academics, behavior, and well-being. Plus, puberty can cause a biological delay that leads to later bedtimes and wake-up times among teenagers. It's recommended that teenagers between 14 and 17 get 8.5 to 9.5 hours of sleep per night. Doctors say while starting a delayed school start time can be stressful for school districts and families, the health benefits for teenagers outweigh any negative consequences. And for more ways to make mom's life easier, visit momseveryday.com. For Moms Everyday, I'm Lauren Tremay.
For these tips and more, just go to WKYT.com and click on Moms Every Day.
446 on WKYT this Monday morning. Good to have you with us, and a lot more news is coming right up.
Both presidential candidates attended a ceremony to remember the lives lost on 9/11 at Ground Zero. We'll take a look at how they paid their respects when we return on WKYT this morning.
Welcome back in. 4:49 the time on your Monday on WKYT. We're sure glad you're with us this morning. And both presidential candidates paid their respects to the victims of the 9/11 attacks.
But
Video posted on social media shows Hillary Clinton's aides tightly holding on to her just before she falters a couple times and stumbles into her van. Clinton had been attending the ceremony at Ground Zero to mark the 15th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. Before it began, Clinton exchanged hugs with others attending the observance. Clinton only attended an hour and a half of the ceremony held here in Lower Manhattan. A campaign spokesperson said she became overheated and left to go to her daughter Chelsea's nearby apartment. Clinton left the apartment building a short time later. Feeling great. Feeling great. An aide says Clinton was examined by a doctor at her home in Chappaqua, New York. The doctor says Clinton was experiencing a cough related to allergies. After it didn't go away, Clinton was evaluated again Friday and diagnosed with pneumonia. She was prescribed antibiotics and was advised to rest. The doctor says at the ceremony, Clinton became overheated and dehydrated, but is now rehydrated and is recovering nicely. Donald Trump also attended the observance. He told reporters he didn't know anything about Clinton's health incident. But Trump supporters have long questioned the 68-year-old's health and stamina. Clinton has maintained she is healthy and has no major health concerns. Jamie Yukas, CBS News, New York.
And Trump is scheduled to speak in Baltimore and in Asheville, North Carolina today. Clinton had fundraisers in San Francisco scheduled. Her campaign says they have canceled her trip out west.
The heroin epidemic in our region has skyrocketed the past couple of weeks. It is so bad, one group is now demanding action from state leaders. The anti-heroin and opium group in Ohio demanded their state's governor declare a medical state of emergency. The rally comes after a storm of overdoses in Cincinnati. The ODs brought more than 170 emergency room visits in a 6-day span. The group wants Governor John Kasich to maximize resources to support law enforcement. They're also asking for more money for detox centers and sober living houses.
Kentucky is not ready yet to comply with the federal law changing the state's licenses. The Real ID law requires a special driver's license to board domestic flights. Kentucky has applied for 3 one-year waivers, allowing them to avoid enforcement of the law. And a Louisville TV station reports that state leaders are asking the government for more time still to prepare. The current extension is set to expire October 10th. In a letter, the Commissioner of Kentucky's Department of Vehicle Regulation is asking for a delay to allow them to build on what they call their recent progress. Unless Kentucky upgrades its driver's licenses by January of 2018, current licenses will not be valid. A passport or other form of ID would be needed.
Well, you can expect to see crews back at Center Point in downtown Lexington this week. We spoke to developer Dudley Webb, who tells us the project is still on schedule despite some delays. He says now that the board has approved some changes to the project, they've sent them to contractors for pricing. He expects the garage to be complete next spring. We asked Webb what we can expect to see.
Well, I think you're going to see probably they'll start on the eastern third of the block, and that'll come up to street level with the garage, and that'll build to the west. And the reason for that is the tower cranes swing. One of the tower cranes has to do both the hotels as well as the office building. So we'll start with the office building first because it needs to be ready soonest.
In July, Webb showed us updated designs for the above-ground portion of the project. It included a 10-story office tower, an 18-story Marriott hotel, and a 12-story Marriott Residence Inn. Crews demolished and cleared the downtown block 8 years ago today.
All right, so we'll watch for that additional progress this week, see what happens there. 4:53, 7 before 5 on WKYT this morning. Coming right up, we'll have a look at some of the stories our news team is working on for you this morning.
And we'll have another look at your Monday morning forecast coming up.
Hey, good morning. Welcome back in. 4:56 now on WKYT.
Now it's time to take a look at some of the stories we're working on for you this morning.
2 people charged in connection to a shooting in Lexington will be heading to court this morning. Daniel Glasscock and Destiny Huff are both charged with murder and robbery. We're looking ahead to their day in court coming up at the top of the hour on WKYT this morning.
And we're coming off a spectacular Sunday, but things are heating back up in the bluegrass. Let's head to Micah Harris for an update.
Yeah, you're going to see temperatures slowly rise each and every single day. We're sitting there in the 50s this morning for the most part. A couple of 60s mixed in here and there. Moorhead looks pretty good across 64. But let me tell you this. We get into your afternoon. Yes, 83 is right around average. But the humidity is still down, so it actually feels good today. But like Andrea was talking about, it's each and every single day. It rises 86 tomorrow, 87 the following day. And then that will give us that rain chance as we approach the late week. Midweek is only a slight chance, kind of your typical summertime setup as most stay dry. So most of this work week looks to be dry. It's later on in the forecast, which we're going to be talking about with another 2 hours of WKYT News. Coming up in just a couple of minutes is here comes later on in the work week, another storm system rolling on in here. And that is the same setup we're going to see for at least the next month. We'll talk about that coming up. Another 2 hours of WKYT News.